The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The vessel stretched over 10 kilometers long, its hull gleaming with a strange silver metal that seemed to bend light around it. Strange symbols glowed along its sides, pulsing with colors that hurt human eyes to look at directly. Dr. Sarah Martinez stood in the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the alien craft through the reinforced windows. As Earth's lead xenobiologist, she had spent her career hoping for this moment. First contact with alien life. But something about the ship's arrival felt wrong. It had simply appeared, ignoring all human attempts at communication. "Any response to our signals?" asked General Harrison, the station commander. "Nothing," replied the communications officer. "We've tried everything. Radio, laser pulses, mathematical sequences. They're not answering." 3 days passed in tense silence. The alien ship sat motionless above Earth, its presence felt by every human on the planet. Then, without warning, smaller ships launched from the massive vessel. These craft moved with impossible grace, defying everything humans knew about physics. They landed at coordinates, sent to Earth's government, just minutes before arrival. The landing sites were not random. One ship touched down outside the United Nations building in New York. Another landed near the European Union headquarters in Brussels. A third appeared at the African Union compound in Addis Ababa. The message was clear. The aliens knew exactly how human government worked. Ambassador Zeth Kalar emerged from the New York landing craft. The alien stood 3 meters tall on 4 legs that ended in sharp claws. Its body was covered in scales that shifted color like oil on water. 6 arms extended from its torso, each ending in hands with too many fingers. But it was the alien's head that made humans step back in fear. The skull was elongated, almost insect-like, with compound eyes that reflected light in disturbing ways. Despite its frightening appearance, Zeth Kalar spoke perfect English through a device attached to its throat. "I am Ambassador Zeth Kalar, of the Hegemony Fleet, representing the Galactic Confederation. I come to offer your species a choice." President Chen Wei met the alien in the UN Assembly Hall. The room was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. Cameras broadcast the meeting to billions of people watching around the world. This was humanity's first official contact with aliens, and everyone knew it would change everything. "Welcome to Earth," President Chen said, trying to keep her voice steady. "We're honored to meet you." Zeth Kalar's compound eyes fixed on her. "Honor is premature, human. I bring an ultimatum, not a greeting." The alien activated a device, and holographic images filled the air above the assembly. The images showed space, but not empty space. Thousands of ships moved between the stars, each one larger than anything humans had built. Entire worlds appeared, covered in cities that stretched from pole to pole. Strange beings walked through the images, hundreds of different species all living under the same flag. "This is the Galactic Confederation," Zeth Kalar said. "We rule 847 species across 12 galaxies. For 3,000 years, we have brought peace and order to the stars." The images changed, showing what looked like battles. Primitive ships fought against the same type of vessels now orbiting Earth. In every scene, the primitive ships lost. Worlds burned. Cities fell. Then the images showed those same worlds years later, rebuilt and prosperous under Confederation rule. "We offer the same choice to all new species," the alien continued. "Join us willingly and prosper. Refuse and face pacification." President Chen felt her hands shake, but she kept her voice calm. "What does joining you mean?" "Exactly. Your species will become client members of the Confederation. We will guide your technological development along proper paths. You will surrender 60% of your colony worlds to more advanced species who can use them efficiently. Your military will be disbanded, as the Hegemony Fleet provides all necessary protection. Your government will report to a Confederation Council that will help you make better decisions. The assembly hall erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted in dozens of languages. Security guards moved closer to the stage, hands on their weapons. Zeth-Kalar waited for the noise to die down. You have 7 of your days to decide. Choose wisdom over pride. Every species believes they are special. Every species thinks they can resist. They all learn otherwise. President Chen stood up slowly. She looked around the assembly at faces filled with fear and anger. These were the representatives of every nation on Earth, people who rarely agreed on anything. But she could see in their eyes that for once, humanity spoke with one voice. Ambassador Zeth-Kalar, she said clearly, making sure every camera caught her words. I speak for the people of Earth when I give you our answer. She paused, knowing that her next words would echo through history. Around the world, billions of humans held their breath. No. The aliens' compound eyes seemed to shimmer. You refuse? Our generous offer? We refuse to be anyone's clients. We refuse to give up our worlds. We refuse to disband our military. And we refuse to let anyone else make our decisions for us. President Chen's voice grew stronger with each word. We are human beings. We bow to no one. Zeth-Kalar stood perfectly still for several seconds. Then its scales shifted to a darker color. You do not understand what you are refusing, primitive creature. We offer you survival. End quote. Then you don't understand what you're threatening? President Chen replied. We offer you the same choice. Leave our space peacefully, or discover why humans have never been conquered. The alien ambassador made a sound like grinding metal. Without another word, it turned and walked from the assembly hall. Within an hour, the alien landing craft had returned to the massive ship above Earth. The ship remained in orbit for 2 more days, silent and watching. Then it vanished as suddenly as it had arrived, leaving no trace it had ever been there. President Chen stood in her office, looking up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, an alien empire was deciding humanity's fate. She had no doubt they would be back. The only question was how much time Earth had to prepare. General Harrison entered the room. The Security Council is meeting in an hour. They want to know what we're going to do. What we've always done when someone threatens our freedom, President Chen said without looking away from the stars. We get ready to fight. Fleet Commander Vrath watched the blue world grow larger on his ship's main screen. Sol 3. The humans called it Earth. Such a small, unremarkable planet to cause so much trouble for the Confederation. His fleet of 1,000 ships should be more than enough to convince these primitives of their mistake. Commander, we're detecting unusual activity throughout the system, reported his sensor officer, a thin creature with too many eyes. The primitives have been busy. Vrath studied the tactical display with growing confusion. When the Confederation had first visited this system, it contained 1 inhabited world and a few basic settlements on other planets. Now, every piece of rock larger than a shuttle seemed to have human structures attached to it. What are those things? He asked, pointing to geometric shapes surrounding the 4th planet. Defense platforms, sir. Primitive, but numerous. We count over 2,000 around Mars alone. And those ships? Human vessels, Commander. They appear to be using modified cargo haulers as warships. Vrath's 4 arms gestured dismissively. Pathetic. Begin the demonstration. Target their largest vessels first. A few clean kills should convince them to surrender. The Confederation fleet moved into attack formation, their sleek ships gliding through space with practiced precision. Each vessel was a work of art, designed by species with thousands of years of advanced technology. Their weapons could crack planets. Their shields could stop stellar radiation. Facing them were crude human ships that looked like flying scrapyards. The humans did not respond to the Confederation's approach with surrender signals. They did not request parley. They did not even acknowledge the alien fleet's presence. Instead, they opened fire. Thousands of missiles erupted from human ships and defense platforms. The weapons were primitive by Confederation standards, barely capable of damaging advanced shields. But there were so many of them that they blocked out the stars. Interesting, Vrakth mused as his fleet's point defense systems began destroying the incoming missiles. They show more spirit than most primitives. Target their command ships and end this quickly. The Confederation ships fired their main weapons. Beams of energy that could cut through battleship armor struck the human vessels. Several exploded immediately, their crude hulls no match for advanced technology. But instead of retreating, the remaining human ships accelerated toward the alien fleet. "Commander," his tactical officer said, voice rising in confusion. "They're not retreating." Through the swirling battle, Vrakth watched human ships close the distance, despite taking terrible losses. When their weapons stopped working, human crews rammed their vessels into Confederation ships. When their hulls breached, human soldiers in primitive spacesuits continued fighting with personal weapons that shouldn't even scratch alien armor. "Status report," Vrakth ordered as his flagship shuddered from another impact. "We've destroyed 60% of their fleet, but they've damaged 43 of our ships. 7. Our combat, ineffective." Vrakth couldn't believe what he was hearing. No primitive species had ever damaged so many Confederation vessels in a single engagement. These humans fought like they wanted to die. The battle raged for 18 hours. Human reinforcements kept arriving from hidden bases throughout the system. When the Confederation destroyed one defense platform, 2 more came online. When alien fighters thought they had cleared a sector, human ships appeared from asteroid fields where they had been hiding. Captain Urith commanded one of Vrakth's escort destroyers. She had fought in dozens of pacification campaigns, but nothing had prepared her for this. Human ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. She watched a human frigate, its hull breached and atmosphere venting, ram itself into a Confederation cruiser with enough force to crack the alien ship's shields. "These creatures are insane," she reported to the fleet. "They fight like wounded predators." The worst moment came when a group of human ships surrounded one of the Confederation's heavy battleships. The aliens had superior weapons and shields, but the humans had numbers. They attacked from all directions, absorbing terrible losses but never stopping. When the battleship's captain tried to retreat, the humans followed, continuing their assault even as their ships were torn apart. The battleship's shields failed after 6 hours of constant bombardment. Human ships moved in for the kill, their weapons finally able to damage the alien vessel's hull. The battleship fought back desperately, destroying human ships by the dozens, but more kept coming. Finally, a human cargo hauler converted into a bomb ship broke through the battleship's defenses. The explosion could be seen from Mars, taking the alien ship and 50 human vessels with it. "Fleet Commander," Urith's voice came through the communications system. "I've never seen anything like this. They don't retreat. They don't surrender. They just keep attacking until they win or die." Vrakth studied the tactical display. His fleet had destroyed over 70% of the human defenders, but at a cost no one had expected. Nearly 400 Confederation ships were damaged, and 38 had been completely destroyed. In 3,000 years of galactic expansion, no primitive species had ever inflicted such losses. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human command center. Put it through." A human female appeared on the screen. She was middle-aged, with gray hair and tired eyes, but her voice was firm. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, commanding Seoul Defense Fleet. You have entered human space without permission and attacked our worlds. Withdraw immediately, or face the consequences." Vrakth's translator struggled with human expressions. But the meaning was clear. These primitives were threatening him. After losing most of their fleet, they still refused to surrender. "Human Admiral," he replied, We have demonstrated the futility of resistance. Surrender now, and your species will be treated with mercy." Admiral Chen smiled, and Vracht realized that human smiles could be terrifying. "Fleet Commander, you've destroyed 70% of our defending ships. We consider this an acceptable loss ratio." "Acceptable?" Vracht couldn't understand. "Your fleet is nearly destroyed." "Our fleet was designed to be destroyed," Admiral Chen said. "Every ship, every platform, every weapon was built to hurt you as much as possible before dying. The question is, how many more fleets like this are you willing to face?" Vracht looked at his tactical display again. Sol system contained dozens of shipyards, all working at full capacity. Even as the battle raged, new human ships were being completed. These primitives had turned their entire civilization into a war machine. "Fleet Commander," his sensor officer reported, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the outer planets. The humans have more defense platforms coming online." Through the viewport, Vracht could see human ships still fighting, still attacking, still refusing to accept defeat. His own fleet was badly damaged and far from reinforcements. For the first time in his long military career, Fleet Commander Vracht gave an order he had never expected to give. "All ships, prepare for withdrawal." The Confederation fleet limped away from Earth, leaving behind the wreckage of both sides. As they retreated, Admiral Chen's voice followed them through space. "Tell your Confederation that humans remember who attacks us. Tell them we know where you live now. And tell them that next time, we'll be ready." In his private quarters, Vracht composed his report to the Confederation Council. How could he explain that a primitive species had forced a hegemony fleet to retreat? How could he describe an enemy that treated their own destruction as victory if it meant hurting their opponents? He finished his report with a single line that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. "The humans do not fight to win. They fight to make losing too expensive for their enemies." Well, 9. When Sci. The another 24mation. When Sci. Grand Admiral Torquan had ended 47 rebellions in his long career. He had brought peace to unruly species across 3 galaxies. The humans would be number 48, and he planned to make their defeat swift and complete. His fleet was the largest ever assembled for a pacification campaign. 10,000 ships, including 12 planet killers and the Confederation's most advanced warships. The Council had been embarrassed by Vracht's retreat from Sol System. They wanted the human problem solved permanently. "Admiral," his intelligence officer reported, "we have confirmation that the humans have spread to over 200 star systems. Our target list includes their major colony worlds and industrial centers." Torquan studied the tactical maps showing human space. In the months since their refusal to join the Confederation, these primitives had been busy. Too busy. Most species took centuries to expand beyond their home system. The humans had done it in decades. "What do our scouts report about their defenses?" "Mixed intelligence, sir. Some systems appear lightly defended, others show significant military buildup. The humans seem to be using inconsistent defensive strategies." Torquan's experience told him this was normal. Primitive species rarely had unified command structures. Different colonies would have different leaders making different decisions. It would make the campaign longer but easier to manage. He was wrong. The first sign of trouble came when his advanced scouts reached the Centauri system. Instead of finding the human colony they expected, they discovered empty space and debris. The entire system had been evacuated, its infrastructure dismantled and removed. "Where did they go?" Torquan demanded. "Unknown, sir. Long-range sensors detect similar activity in 12 other target systems. The humans appear to be abandoning their colonies. But the humans weren't abandoning anything. They were relocating to hidden systems that Confederation scouts had never found. Entire populations moved to worlds that existed in the gaps between stellar maps, places where human survey ships had gone but alien scouts had not. The real surprise came when Torquan's fleet reached what should have been an easy target: the agricultural world of New Kansas. Instead of finding frightened farmers, they found a trap. Human ships emerged from asteroid fields where no ships should have been able to hide. These weren't the crude vessels that had fought at Earth. The humans had been studying captured Confederation technology, and they learned quickly. "Admiral," his tactical officer gasped, "those ships are using our own weapons against us." The human vessels fired energy beams identical to Confederation designs, but somehow more powerful. Their shields flickered with the same technology that protected alien ships, but reinforced with human innovations that made them harder to break. "How is this possible?" Torquan asked. "They've had this technology for less than a year." His science officer, a brilliant creature from a species known for rapid analysis, provided an answer that chilled the bridge. "Admiral, the humans don't just copy our technology, they improve it. These weapon modifications should be impossible with their industrial base. But somehow, they've made our designs 30% more efficient." The battle at New Kansas lasted 3 days. The humans had turned the entire system into a weapons platform. Automated defense satellites fired from hiding places behind moons and planets. Human ships appeared, attacked, and vanished before the Confederation could respond effectively. Worse, the humans fought without any regard for the rules of civilized warfare. They targeted supply ships and medical vessels. They used civilian craft as suicide bombs. When Confederation Marines boarded human ships, they found the vessels rigged to explode. "These creatures have no honor," complained General Ziktar, Torquan's ground forces commander. "They attack medical ships. They destroy their own vessels rather than let us capture them. They refuse to follow any rules of engagement." "They follow human rules," Torquan replied grimly. "And human rules say that everything is a weapon if you use it right." The worst discovery came when Torquan's intelligence teams analyzed captured human equipment. The primitives weren't just building better weapons. They were building them faster than should be possible. "Admiral," his logistics officer reported, "the humans appear to have converted their entire civilization for war production. Every factory, every shipyard, every industrial facility is now producing military equipment. Show me the numbers." The holographic display filled with data that made Torquan's blood run cold. Human industrial output had increased by 800% since the war began. They were launching new ships every day, building weapons platforms in systems the Confederation didn't even know existed. "This is impossible," Torquan said. "No species can maintain this level of production. They should have exhausted their resources months ago." But humans didn't think like other species. When faced with extinction, they didn't despair or negotiate. They worked. Every human civilian became part of the war effort. Children too young to fight built ammunition. Elderly humans, too old for combat, designed better weapons. The humans had turned survival into an industrial process. The breaking point came during the Battle of Wolf, 359. Torquan had cornered a human fleet that had been raiding Confederation supply lines. The aliens outnumbered the humans 3-1 and had them trapped between 2 asteroid fields. The human commander, Admiral Elizabeth Harrison, sent a single message before the battle began. "You wanted to see what humans do when cornered. Watch and learn." The human ships didn't try to escape. Instead, they accelerated toward the largest asteroid in the field and began pushing it toward Torquan's fleet. The rock was massive, big enough to destroy dozens of ships if it hit at high speed. "Stop them," Torquan ordered. "Destroy that asteroid." But as soon as his ships focused fire on the asteroid, human vessels attacked from every direction. They had planned this perfectly, using the alien fleet's own tactics against them. While Confederation ships tried to destroy the asteroid, human fighters tore apart their formations. The asteroid struck Torquan's flagship with the force of a small moon. The impact cracked the massive ship's hull and sent it spinning out of control. As damage reports flooded in, Torquan realized the humans had done something impossible. They had used a piece of space rock as a weapon against the galaxy's most advanced warships. "Admiral," his communications officer called out. "We're receiving a message from Admiral Harrison." The human woman appeared on screen, her ship's bridge sparking from battle damage. Behind her, Torquan could see human crew members still working at their stations despite obvious injuries. "Grand Admiral Torquan," she said, "you've been fighting us for 6 months. How many ships have you lost?" Torquan didn't want to answer, but the numbers were impossible to hide. "Over 4,000 vessels." "And how many have we lost?" 8,000, at minimum." Admiral Harrison smiled that terrible human smile. "Then we're winning." "Winning?" Torquan couldn't understand. "You've lost twice as many ships as we have." "Yes. But we've built 12,000 new ships in the same time period. Every day, our fleet grows stronger, while yours grows weaker. Every battle teaches us something new about how to kill you. Every defeat shows us how to win next time." The transmission ended, leaving Torquan staring at empty space. Around him, his bridge crew tried to process what they had just heard. The humans considered losing 8,000 ships a victory because they could build replacements faster than the Confederation could destroy them. His science officer was reviewing combat data from the past 6 months. "Admiral," she said quietly, "the humans have introduced 17 major tactical innovations since the war began. They adapt to our strategies faster than we can implement them." Torquan pulled up the strategic display showing the war's progress. Human space had not shrunk despite their losses. Instead, it had expanded. The primitives were using the war itself as cover for further colonization, establishing new worlds even as they fought to defend old ones. "Sir," his intelligence officer added, "we've confirmed that human raiders have attacked Confederation facilities in 43 systems. They're not just defending their territory. They're attacking ours." For the first time in his career, Grand Admiral Torquan began to understand that he might not win this war. The humans didn't fight like any species the galaxy had ever seen. They treated warfare as a learning experience, casualties as acceptable losses, and defeat as temporary setback. "Send a message to the Council," he ordered. "We need reinforcements. All available fleets. Fourth. How many ships, sir?" Torquan looked at the display showing human space continuing to expand despite the ongoing war. "All of them." 2 years after the war began, Council Elder Vexhai stood before the Galactic Assembly with news that would shake the foundations of civilization. The ancient being's crystalline body flickered with colors that showed deep distress as she addressed the representatives of 800 species. "The human war has consumed 3 galactic sectors," she announced. 57 member species have requested emergency assistance. 12 have declared neutrality. 3 have withdrawn from the Confederation entirely. The assembly hall erupted in voices speaking hundreds of languages. Representatives demanded answers, explanations, solutions that Elder Vexhai could not provide. How could one primitive species threaten an empire that had ruled for 3,000 years? "Order," she commanded, her voice carrying harmonic frequencies that forced silence. "The situation is worse than you know." The hall's main display activated, showing a tactical map of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas of active conflict. Yellow indicated systems under threat. Green showed secure Confederation space. 2 years ago, the entire map had been green. Now, red dominated 3 entire sectors. "The humans are not simply defending their territory," Elder Vexhai continued. "They are expanding it. Every month, they establish new colonies in systems we considered secure. Every battle they lose teaches them something new about how to fight us more effectively." In the Rigel sector, Commander Kethlock faced this reality firsthand. His patrol fleet had been hunting human raiders for 6 months, but the primitives always stayed one step ahead. Today, they had finally cornered a human squadron near a gas giant's moons. "All ships, begin attack formation," he ordered. Standard encirclement pattern. But as his ships moved to surround the human vessels, Kethlock realized something was wrong. The humans weren't trying to escape. They were positioning themselves deliberately, as if they wanted to be surrounded. "Commander," his sensor officer called out, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the gas giant itself." The truth hit Kethlock too late. The humans had been mining the planet's atmosphere for weeks, converting it into weapons. As his fleet closed in, controlled explosions turned the giant planet's upper atmosphere into a weapon that dwarfed anything in the Confederation arsenal. The blast destroyed Kethlock's entire fleet and 3 of the system's moons. The humans escaped in the confusion, leaving behind a message that would be repeated across the galaxy. "You taught us that planets could be weapons. We learned the lesson well. We learned the lesson. We learned the lesson." News of the Rigel incident spread through Confederation space faster than official communications could suppress it. For the first time, member species began to question whether the Confederation could protect them from humanity's expanding influence. Dr. Sarah Martinez, now Director of Human Scientific Development, stood in her laboratory aboard the research station orbiting New Geneva. Around her, teams of human scientists worked with captured alien technology, but they weren't simply copying it anymore. They were making it better. "Report," she said to her lead engineer. "The new shield generators are ready for mass production," he replied. "They're 40% more efficient than anything the Confederation uses, and our manufacturing processes can produce them in half the time." Sarah nodded, reviewing the data on her tablet. Human technology had advanced more in 2 years of war than in the previous century of peace. Faced with extinction, humanity had discovered they were very good at learning how to destroy their enemies. What about the new ships? The Mark 7 destroyers are coming off the production lines at a rate of 50 per day. Each one is superior to any Confederation vessel in its class. Through her laboratory window, Sarah could see the proof of human industrial might. Shipyards stretched from horizon to horizon, each one building vessels that made alien technology look obsolete. The humans hadn't just learned how to fight. They had learned how to win. But the galaxy's real shock came when human fleets began appearing in systems that no primitive species should have been able to reach. The Vega Collective, one of the Confederation's oldest allies, sent desperate pleas for help when human ships attacked their core worlds. "How is this possible?" demanded General Mordak of the Hegemony Fleet. "Vega is 800 light-years from human space. Their ships shouldn't be able to travel that far." The answer came from captured human prisoners, though getting information from them proved almost impossible. Humans, it seemed, preferred death to revealing military secrets. When they finally broke one prisoner's silence, the truth was worse than anyone imagined. "They have bases everywhere," the broken human confessed. "Hidden worlds, asteroid stations, ships disguised as cargo haulers. We've been preparing for this war for longer than you know." The Confederation's intelligence services worked frantically to locate these hidden bases, but the humans had learned the art of concealment from necessity. Every time alien scouts found a secret facility, they discovered it had been abandoned weeks earlier. Its population and equipment vanished without trace. Admiral Vracht, now recovered from his wounds at Earth, commanded a task force hunting human raiders in the Procyon sector. He had studied human tactics for 2 years, learning to think like his enemies. It was a disturbing education. "They don't fight like any species we've encountered," he reported to Fleet Command. "Every engagement is a learning experience for them. They record everything, analyze every failure, and share that knowledge with every other human unit." The humans had weaponized their own defeats. Each lost battle became data that made future battles more likely to succeed. The Confederation's military doctrine, based on traditional tactics and proven strategies, crumbled against an enemy that treated war as a science experiment. Worse, the humans were sharing their innovations with species that had reason to hate the Confederation. The Altiran rebels, crushed decades earlier, suddenly possessed weapons that could damage hegemony ships. The Kepler resistance movement, thought extinct, began hitting supply convoys with human-designed explosives. "The primitives are arming our enemies," reported Intelligence Director Quintal to the Emergency Council. "Every species we've ever conquered is suddenly receiving advanced human weapons and tactical support." Council Elder Vexhai felt the weight of 3,000 years of galactic peace crumbling around her. How many systems are now in open rebellion? As in, quote, 47 and growing. The humans aren't just fighting us directly, they're teaching others how to fight us too. But the most terrifying development came from the war's front lines, where Confederation forces faced an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with each passing month. Human ships now outperformed alien technology. Human tactics had evolved beyond anything in Confederation military manuals. Human weapons could destroy vessels that were supposed to be invincible. Grand Admiral Torquan sat in his command center, surrounded by reports of defeat after defeat. His 10,000-ship fleet had been reduced to less than 4,000 functional vessels. Meanwhile, intelligence estimated human military strength at over 15,000 ships and growing daily. "Sir," his aide reported, "the Council is demanding an explanation for our losses." Torquan studied the latest battle reports. At Proxima, human forces had used captured Confederation ships against their former owners. At Barnard's Star, humans had turned an entire asteroid belt into a weapon system. At Tau Ceti, human engineers had somehow weaponized a star's solar wind. "Tell the Council that we're not fighting primitives anymore," he said quietly. "We're fighting what the Confederation could have become if we had ever faced real adversity." The truth was spreading through the galaxy despite official censorship. Humanity wasn't just surviving the war. They were winning it. More frightening, they were enjoying it. Intercepted human communications showed a species that had found its purpose in warfare, a people who treated each victory as preparation for the next battle. On Earth, President Chen Wei addressed the human population in a broadcast that would be intercepted and translated throughout the galaxy. 2 years ago, aliens came to our world with ultimatums and threats, she said. They told us to surrender or face destruction. They believed we were primitive creatures who would submit to superior force. Her image was transmitted to billions of humans across hundreds of worlds. But alien intelligence services made sure every government in the galaxy heard her words too. They were wrong about everything. We are not primitive. We do not submit. And we have discovered that we are very, very good at war. The broadcast ended with images of human fleets, human weapons, human worlds that had become fortresses among the stars. The galaxy watched and realized that something fundamental had changed. The age of easy conquest was over. The Confederation had created their worst nightmare, a species that treated warfare as evolution, defeat as education, and victory as simply the beginning of the next battle. The humans had refused to parley, and now the galaxy was learning the price of that refusal. In the deep spaces between stars, human scouts were already exploring new systems, establishing bases that no alien force would ever find. The war was far from over, and humanity was just getting started. 5 years after humanity's refusal to parley, the Galactic Confederation was dying. Council Elder Vexhai walked through the abandoned halls of the Great Assembly Building, her crystalline form reflecting the emergency lighting that had replaced the grand illumination systems. Most of the member species had stopped attending council meetings. Many had stopped paying their Confederation taxes. Some had openly declared independence. The numbers told the story of galactic collapse. The Confederation now controlled less than 60% of its former territory. Rebellions burned in 47 sectors. The hegemony fleet, once the galaxy's most feared military force, had been reduced to defensive actions around core worlds. And at the center of it all, humanity continued to expand. Elder Vexhai, came a voice from behind her. She turned to see the last members of the Emergency Council. 3 representatives from species too frightened to abandon the Confederation, too weak to survive alone. "Have you reached a decision?" she asked. "We have no choice," replied Ambassador Kethman of the Draconian Empire. "Our fleets are gone. Our worlds are under siege. We must attempt negotiation." Elder Vex High felt something she had never experienced in her 3,000-year life. Fear of the future. "Very well. Send the message to human space. Request a meeting." The response came within hours, faster than should have been possible given the distances involved. The humans had clearly been expecting this moment. "President Chen Wei of the Human Federation will meet with Confederation representatives at the Neutral Zone station in the Vega system," the message stated. "Come alone, come unarmed, come prepared to discuss surrender terms." The final phrase sent shivers through what remained of the Confederation leadership. After 3 millennia of offering surrender terms to other species, they were about to receive them. President Chen Wei, now in her 70s but still sharp as the day she first refused alien demands, stood on the observation deck of humanity's newest flagship. The vessel stretched 12 kilometers long, built with technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was one of over 30,000 ships in the human fleet. "Ma'am," reported Admiral Harrison, her daughter Sarah, who had taken over military command. "The alien delegation is approaching the station." "How many ships?" "3, ma'am. Old Confederation designs. Minimal armament. They're clearly not here to fight." Through the viewport, President Chen could see the space station that had once been a symbol of galactic unity. Now, it served as a monument to the Confederation's failure. Human ships surrounded it, not as guards but as reminders of what the galaxy was now dealing with. The meeting took place in the same chamber where Ambassador Zeth Kalar had once delivered ultimatums to primitive species. Now, the roles were reversed. Elder Vex High sat across from President Chen, flanked by the few remaining Confederation leaders. At the human president's side sat representatives from dozens of species that had joined the Human Federation after abandoning the Confederation. "Elder Vex High," President Chen began, "5 years ago, your people offered us a choice: join willingly or face pacification. I believe you're here to discuss similar terms." The crystal being's form flickered with colors that showed deep shame. "President Chen, the Confederation acknowledges that our initial approach was mistaken. We underestimated human capabilities and resolve." "You underestimated human stubbornness," President Chen corrected. "You assumed that, when faced with overwhelming odds, any rational species would choose submission over extinction." "Yes," Elder Vex High admitted. "We failed to understand that humanity views extinction and submission as the same thing." Around the conference table sat beings who had once ruled the galaxy. The hegemony's greatest generals, now reduced to begging for mercy. Scientists whose species had unlocked the secrets of faster-than-light travel, now facing humans who had improved upon their designs. Diplomats who had negotiated the surrender of countless worlds, now hoping to negotiate their own survival. "What are your terms?" Elder Vex High asked, her voice barely above a whisper. President Chen activated a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. Human space now encompassed over 1,200 systems. Another 300 systems had joined the Human Federation voluntarily, preferring human protection to Confederation rule. "These are our terms," President Chen said. "The Confederation will immediately cease all military operations against human space and our allies. All hegemony fleets will withdraw to pre-war positions. The Confederation will provide full technological databases to human researchers as compensation for war damages." Elder Vex High's crystalline form went dark with despair. Those terms would effectively end the Confederation as a governing body. Yes, they would. The silence stretched for long minutes. Through the station's windows, the assembled leaders could see human warships moving in perfect formations. their crews preparing for battles that might never come. The humans had built the galaxy's most powerful military force, and now they were offering not to use it. "What of our people?" asked General Mordak. "The billions of beings who depend on Confederation protection?" President Chen's expression softened slightly. "Any species that wishes to join the Human Federation will be welcomed as equals. Those who prefer independence will receive human protection from aggression. We have no interest in ruling others. And if we refuse these terms?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop. President Chen's voice became as hard as stellar iron. "Elder Vex High, in 5 years of war, humanity has learned many things about the galaxy. We've learned that your great fleets can be destroyed. We've learned that your advanced technology can be surpassed. We've learned that your ancient empire can be broken." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But most importantly, we've learned that we're very good at war. If you refuse our terms, we'll continue teaching that lesson until there's nothing left of the Confederation to refuse anything." The alien delegates exchanged glances filled with fear and resignation. They had seen what human warfare could accomplish. Entire sectors turned into battlefields. Worlds transformed into fortresses. Species that had never known defeat, learning the taste of constant loss. "We need time to consider," Elder Vex High said. "You have 1 hour," President Chen replied. "After that, we resume military operations." The Confederation leaders withdrew to discuss their options, but everyone in the room knew they had none. The galaxy's political structure, built over 3 millennia, had collapsed in 5 years of human war. The choice was simple: accept human terms or face complete destruction. When they returned, Elder Vex High carried a document that formally dissolved the Galactic Confederation's authority over human space and their allies. Her signature glowed with the same crystalline light as her body, but dimmer now, faded with defeat. "It is done," she said. President Chen studied the document, then set it aside. "Elder Vex High, I want you to understand something. 5 years ago, we didn't want this war. We didn't want to conquer anyone or rule the galaxy. We just wanted to be left alone." She stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars where human ships now patrolled. "Your greatest mistake wasn't underestimating our military capability. It was assuming that all species, when threatened with extinction, would choose to kneel rather than fight." Elder Vex High's form brightened with confusion. "But you have won. You have defeated the greatest empire in galactic history. Surely this validates your choice to resist." President Chen turned back to face the alien leaders. "We didn't choose to resist, Elder Vex High. We chose to remain human. Resistance was just what that choice required." The meeting ended with the signing of documents that would reshape galactic civilization. The Confederation's remnants would survive under human protection, free to govern their own worlds but never again able to threaten others. Species that had lived under alien rule for centuries suddenly found themselves free to choose their own paths. But perhaps the most significant change was philosophical. For 3,000 years, the galaxy had operated on the principle that might makes right, that superior technology and overwhelming force could compel obedience from any species. Humanity had proven that principle wrong. They had shown that some things could not be conquered, that there were people in the universe who would choose annihilation over submission. The galaxy would never again assume that any species would peacefully accept domination. As the human fleet prepared to return to their space, President Chen received a final message from Elder Vex's High. "President Chen, may I ask what humanity plans to do now that the war is over?" The answer came back quickly, and it would be repeated throughout the galaxy for generations to come. "The same thing we wanted to do 5 years ago. Elder Vex High, we plan to be left alone. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. The Human Federation withdrew to their borders, their fleets standing ready, but no longer advancing. They had not sought to rule the galaxy, only to ensure that no one could rule them. In achieving that goal, they had accidentally liberated hundreds of species and created a new model for galactic civilization. The age of empire was over. The age of choice had begun. And somewhere in the depths of space, human scouts continued their quiet work, exploring new systems and establishing hidden bases. Not for conquest, but for the simple human certainty that someday, someone else might need to learn the same lesson the Confederation had learned. The galaxy had discovered the price of threatening humanity. Now it would learn to live with the consequences of that discovery.